I really feel like, especially at KU, there's this stereotype of Christians that we're judgmental, we're hypocritical, we really are condemning, and we're elitist almost. We don't want other people to come in. We just like having our happy little group, and we sit around judging everyone else. Hot dog ministry, very simply, is us giving out hot dogs to anybody that walks by our house on a Friday night.
There isn't any other expectations on top of it.
And we just yell from the porch, free hot dogs, and if somebody wants to come take one, they come and take one.
We just kind of stumbled upon this place, and the free hot dogs is really nice.
We came walking past this house that was handing out free hot dogs. And I mean, what greater thing could you want after a night of partying than a hot dog?
And tonight we can walk back from the Hawk and run into a hot dog house.
Some ministries, you come and you get something and they'll give you a track or a card to like, hey, come do this, or like, now you believe in Jesus or something like that. And we were just like, take a hot dog.
It was the people that were handing them out that appealed to me more. They were very welcoming, very non-judgmental. I didn't know it was Christians handing out the hot dogs.
When you think of the church, often people think of other people wanting your money or wanting something out of you, wanting to take from you, wanting you to serve in their ministry or wanting you to give something to them. I think the difference with hot dog ministry and what we do is that we give away something and ask nothing in return for it.
I could feel the love. There was no, we're gonna give you a hot dog, but you have to read a verse out of the Bible. There was no expectation of reciprocity.
Despite our different beliefs, we can gather around that grill on our porch or in the front yard and just talk about whatever. We're all college students generally, and so we're all human beings.
It was the least judgmental people that I had ever encountered, especially while being intoxicated.
I've eaten 10 hot dogs at least 4 or 5 times at this place in one night.
And I love hot dogs.
Often when people are counting Christians, it's either on campus with a guy like Brother Jed yelling at people, calling girls whores or whatever. Maybe it's the Phelpses saying everybody's a fag and they're all going to hell. We'd rather just be there and be normal.
Nobody ever says, oh man, you're drunk, you shouldn't be here. Because we just love people, and we really don't care if you're drunk or if you curse on our porch or whatever. The things that a lot of the students at KU would think that Christians would call them out for and be like, oh, you need to leave now. We don't care, be yourself.
Immediately, my preconceived notions were shattered because that was not what was happening here. These people were up at 3 o'clock in the morning handing out hot dogs and listening to good music and having a good time.
I love hot dogs! Fires on the table, hot dogs fresh off the grill, with a low price of free.
Jordan, to me, is almost like the heartbeat of hot dog night.
He's such a fun-loving guy to begin with, and then when you get him in the costume, he takes on this persona, I am Mustard. People will be walking down the block, and they're like, it's Mustard Man.
We're there for a few hours, so it gets kind of tiring standing at the grill. And when he comes out in that mustard costume and the music's pumping, he just gets everyone going.
We had a ketchup costume, and Ketchup used to be able to be out there and hanging out with Mustard. And Billy was the guy that always wore the ketchup costume. And him and Jordan, were great together.
Two big, loud, unique personalities. They brought a lot of attention on Friday nights.
But in August, Billy was diagnosed with cancer. And about a month later, month and a half later, he passed away due to a blood clot that had gotten through caused by the cancer.
Watching Billy go through that was really hard for everyone.
I had someone come up to me one time and ask me where he was, and I told him that he passed away. It was just right after it happened, and they didn't believe me, and they started crying almost because of how just terribly sad that is, that someone so young would die. And just on top of that, he was a part of our ministry and meant so much to us and was such a big part of Hot Dog Night. And so his absence is felt deeply.
Through his whole process and his death, it seemed to bring us so much closer.
It feels like every Friday night's a little bit different, and there's always some factor that goes into it that we can't foresee. And so whether that's what the weather's doing, when it's freezing cold, it's really difficult because none of us really want to be out there. People that get into fights and puke all over the place.
Potential alcohol poisoning, you know, calling the EMT.
People getting really agitated with you sometimes, and people trying to break into the house sometimes. And it's a tough judgment call, knowing sometimes what to do. Do I call the cops? Do I deal with it myself? Do I try to take this person home on my own?
Those are all things that pose huge challenges to us, being out there at a Friday night with a lot of people not being in their right frames of mind to make good decisions, and us trying to help them make the right decisions.
Sometimes people come by and they want to pigeonhole us into a certain set of beliefs. Usually it's not the case. I mean, there's people that do believe in evolution and some people that don't. And there's people that are okay with drinking, some people aren't. And they're really looking to pick a fight. And sometimes that's a hard conversation because it's really one-sided anyway. It's not a real conversation. I
think what hurts me the most is that knowing that those people that are trying to tear down the faith of our students or our faith have been hurt by Christians and have been hurt by the church. And I think those are the things that are most difficult for me to deal with, going home and waking up the next morning or going home at 3 a.m. And thinking about those things that were said and, well, why do they feel that way? And how can we start to break that down? Did we break that down tonight?
You always kind of wonder if anything changed, if they've reconsidered some things, or if they need someone to talk to.
I had a conversation at the start of this year with a girl who her best friend had committed suicide. It was one of the toughest conversations I've had with someone. And to not be able to see her again and not be able to know how she's doing with that, how she's dealing with that, if she's dealing with that, can be really difficult.
It's really difficult sometimes to stand out there all night, almost every single week, on a Friday night when I could be doing something else.
What makes everything worth it, you know, is just that the fact knowing that this is the only time that people could get real, genuine love from another person.
I think it is so much bigger than just giving away hot dogs on a Friday night. There's more to it than that. Life is bigger than just me and what's going on in my life right now, my problems and my issues. There's a whole world out there that really needs loving.
You know, sometimes you do want to quit. You do want to just be like, man, I'm done. I'm so sick of this. But what makes it worth it and what makes, I think, me coming back and our students coming back is the chance of the one. That maybe one person is affected, maybe one person has their mind changed, maybe one person starts to see the reality of what Christianity is about.